All right, this week I am joined by Beds. We're doing our second annual Super Bowl preview podcast, breaking down the season, talking about the playoffs, talking about the matchup for the Super Bowl coming up with the Chiefs versus the 49ers, make some bets. Great conversation. Love talking football with Beds. Ton of thoughts, ton of jokes, ton of bad bets that you'll probably want to piggyback. But I think if you're into any of those things, you'll enjoy this podcast. So I hope you give it a listen. This is the Randy.forcier podcast. To support it, if you could subscribe on Spotify, YouTube, or Apple, I would appreciate it. Thanks so much for listening. Here's Chris. Beds, it's Super Bowl week. You fired up?
Yeah. It's different. It's like, all right, we don't have any like rooting interest. It's a couple years from like having anything worth rooting for. So it's like, all right, yeah, Super Bowl, let's go.
We're so spoiled for so long. I'm so used to having like this passion for the game and who's going to win. And yeah, it's different to watch a Super Bowl when you don't care. It's going to be a good game. Always is. And there's a bunch of stuff going on around it. But yeah, it is different when you don't have your team in it. And we've been so lucky.
It was a fun NFL season. It was a weird NFL season, but yeah, I'm excited for the Super Bowl. It's weird now that we can bet. I'm a little bit like, oh man, I'm not going to have any football to bet on soon. So
I was telling my kids before championship weekend, like there's only 3 more games of football, and then there's not going to be any more football till September, which is just crazy to think that we're going to go this whole stretch. And we fill it with a bunch of fun stuff in between, but it is sad when football season's over, when you know it's going to be another 7 months before there's another game. Yep. And it feels like it just started too. So obviously we're going to talk about Super Bowl, talk about thoughts on the games, what we're hoping for, some bets I think will be fun. But I want to recap the year because we made some picks before the season started.
So you want to do an appraisal on our picks?
Yeah, so I'm not going to go through all of them, but we did pick the winners of each division in the AFC and the NFC. So there's 8 division winners. Yep. And the ones that I got right were the Chiefs to win the West, the Bucks to win the South, which I felt really good about, Niners to win the NFC West. So 3 out of 8 I got right. And then you got the Bills in the AFC East, and then you got the Chiefs in the AFC West, and that was it. So I did beat you by 1. But it's a pathetic showing.
Congratulations, question mark.
Yeah. 3 for 8. Give myself a pat on the back.
I mean, you should. It's one better than my 2 for 8. Dude, when we picked those, I remember going Packers, just hoping they could upend the Lions. And that was kind of like that James Morin type angle for me. I like to joke around with him about that. But, dude, nothing went the way that you thought it would this year. Nothing.
Bad quarterback play. So I picked the Jets to win the AFC East. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers gets hurt 4 plays into the season, throws that out the window. I picked the Vikings. Kirk Cousins hurt. Throw that out the window. I mean, I really should have taken Detroit in the NFC. I think they were the preseason hype pick, and they obviously had a great season to make it to the NFC Championship. Took the freaking Vikings. Packers doesn't look like a bad pick in hindsight. We both took the Jaguars. They play like crap.
Dude, I saw a side-by-side of stats between Mac Jones and Lawrence. Mm-hmm. Their stats are actually really similar. Really similar. Yeah,
I didn't know if I was supposed to feel better about Mac Jones because of that or feel worse about Trevor Lawrence because of that. But they did have basically the exact same stats at the same point in their career, right? They were in the same draft class, I believe. Yeah. Trevor Lawrence was the first pick and Mac was the 15th. One of the ones that surprises me the most is the NFC East. I think we both took the Eagles. I thought the Eagles are going to make the Super Bowl. You picked the Eagles to win the Super Bowl. And they started out so hot, man. I think it was 10-1, 11-1. And we were talking about it a little bit earlier today. But just to see how they fell off a cliff, it was just something weird's going on in Philly.
I don't really get it. Like, how does it make any sense that kid was as dominant as he was last year, as dominant as he was through 5-6 games this year? I mean, he won a really nice game in New England. Not that matters to anything, but I just thought, man, here's a quarterback that's just going next level, because late in that game, they had to actually sort of run the clock out to bury us, and he casually did it. That's sort of next level quarterback play. And then the last 7, 8 games, what happens where all of a sudden something falls off a cliff? It's got to be coaching over there.
Some coaching, some injuries, but I thought they were going to have a great season. Obviously didn't. Yeah, I wouldn't have been surprised if they won the Super Bowl. I did pick the Bengals to win the Super Bowl,
Yep.
and I picked Burrow to win the MVP. Big Burrow guy, but when he obviously hurt his wrist on that, I think it was a Sunday night game or it was a primetime game. I was definitely watching it in the moment. You knew something wasn't right. I definitely did not expect him to miss the rest of the season after that happened. But Bengals' hopes were a mess after that.
Randy, it's kind of weird because like you look at a Burrow. What's your thought on this? Because there's always that Kelsey Gronk conversation now, and I think inline blocking Gronkowski. I mean, he was like having a sixth lineman. Obviously, Kelsey's not that, but you have longevity now with Kelsey, and it starts to play into the argument of like who was a better tight end all time, even though Kelsey's still playing. It's kind of it's in the area for me with like I want to ask you a question. You said you're a big Burrow guy. Is part of being great being available? So that's like a Bill Belichick thought. Like Bill has been open about the fact like the greats are always available. Like, is he just going to be a guy that's always injured?
God, I hope not. Right, because he tore his ACL the first season, his rookie season.
Yep.
After that, went to the Super Bowl. Has he been 3 or 4 years now? 4 years maybe.
So,
anyways, he had some injuries. He's always had injuries. I hope he's not because he's so good when he's on. But he easily could be. He really could be.
And it's like, dude, that's part of everything that we're talking about right now. It's like the product was so watered down this year. It was injuries, it was bad coaching. Some of the stuff with the officiating has been sus. I don't know. This NFL season for me was just kind of whatever. I don't know.
Hey, good use of the word sus.
Thanks, man. I give credit to Haley for that one.
Yeah, Aubrey would be very proud of that one too. So nice pull. All right, I just wanted to take 1 second from the podcast to let you know that besides hosting, I also do mortgages. I'm a residential loan officer with Norcom Mortgage in Saco, Maine. If you or anyone you know is thinking about buying a home in 2024 or refinancing as rates are coming down, please feel free to reach out to me and I'd be happy to help. My contact information is in the description below. Thanks, and back to the pod. Yeah, I actually think this season was pretty bad overall for all those reasons that you said. If I look back at all the NFL seasons that I can remember, this seems like a crap one, where just it seemed like 49ers, and they struggled a little bit in the playoffs. They seemed like they were a shoe-in for the Super Bowl like very early in the season. I thought for sure Baltimore was going to win it in the AFC too, and it was just going to be a 1 seed versus 1 seed. Obviously that didn't happen, but it just seemed like there was just a handful of teams at the top and everyone else was not that great. Had plenty of backup quarterbacks and bad losses for teams. It seems like the product is not where it was a few years ago. And again, I'm a Brady guy, Pat's guy, so it's hard to say, but it just feels different right now.
So 12-5, once, twice, 3 times. Okay. 3 teams went 12-5. That was the second best record in the league. A team went 13-4. Do you know what team that was?
A team went 13-4?
Yep. Best record in the league.
That was Baltimore, right?
And how do you show up and just get your ass absolutely handed to you at home? And it just looked like they didn't belong. That's another thing about this football season. It's just, how does that happen? You got your tail.
What happens is you're playing Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
And then Pat Mahomes, they get the ball to start and they have a great drive and they put points up on that first drive and then it's over. It felt like Baltimore wouldn't be able to come back. And obviously some things went the Chiefs' way early, but man, it was just worst case start for them.
I've been calling this Chiefs team. I've been saying this Chiefs team was like, this is the gap year for them. And here they are in the Super Bowl. It has like a little bit of the 11 vibes of the Pats for me. That team, if you remember, had a really bad defense, but Brady carried them in there. I guess Rice developed a little bit for them this year, but it's like I look at that. Like if you do an appraisal of what they have on offense, you're just like, wow, they need some help at wide receiver. But, Pat makes them better. I thought Manning was always really good at that. But where I'm ultimately going with this is like in the 18 season, technically, for the Pats, when we beat the Rams, it was just Brady Gronk at key moments. And it's like later in the season this year, Kelsey it looked like he was slowing down a little bit. I noticed it because of the stats. I always have him as a keeper in our football league, but it just, they got into the playoffs, man. And guess what it was again?
Well, Kelsey had a great first half.
Yeah.
They had that play last week where Mahomes is extending a play. He's moving to his left, kind of steps up in the pocket, and just gets enough space to throw like this ball to Kelsey where he dives and catches it for a first down. And it's like, how do you? Yeah, it's just Mahomes and Kelsey. You just can't. It's hard to account for those guys. They're just so good.
And later in that drive, it was a Kelsey touchdown at the pylon.
Yeah, he had a great start to the game. He didn't. I don't think he played quite as well through the end of the game, but yeah, he had an awesome game. Those two guys. Pat Mahomes is good, man. I don't hate Mahomes. You would think that I'd hate Mahomes just because there's talk of him being the GOAT and ultimately better than Brady, and I think it's a little premature for that. But I don't know. I'm not super like. It doesn't bother me because I actually think he's freaking amazing, and I really enjoy watching him play football.
There's something weird happening for me, and I don't know if this is happening to anybody else that listens to the pod, but like after such a long run of winning, you look at this body of work for us, and I've done nothing but reflect positively on the 20 years, and it's almost like this badge you can carry as a sports fan. I'm able now to look at other players and actually accept them for what they are, which is great. Like I'm the most judgmental person on the planet when it comes to anything, and especially sports. And like I'd never allowed myself to enjoy a Manning. I enjoyed Kobe late. Maybe I'm starting to enjoy LeBron just a little bit ish, but like Mahomes, I'm all in on that kid.
I'll cut that. I'll clip that out for you and put that just that you're enjoying LeBron and put that on just like on my stories tomorrow. So
yeah. Big LeBron guy.
No, it's good. You should enjoy Mahomes. He's unbelievable. The way he plays is, I think that comparable for that Pats team you were talking about and this Chiefs team is a good one. He's not working with a lot of the weapons that he's had in the past. And if it was anyone but him, they would have lost first round in the playoffs.
So other things that we could chat about is like Dallas again laying an egg.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where are you if you're a Dallas fan? Like you go through the 90s dominating in the early 90s. You go through the disappointments of like a couple of those Romo moments. And then here we are with like a couple of really good back-to-back seasons and just getting your ass kicked again.
I cannot believe they did not fire Mike McCarthy and hire Bill Belichick as their coach. I thought 100% that was going to happen. I still don't. It's inexplicable to me because it seems like Mike McCarthy is not a great football coach by all the experts' opinions on him. And that would be the perfect time to get rid of him after an embarrassing loss like that. You have Belichick on the side. I mean, there's reasons why Belichick hasn't gotten hired, and he probably won't this year. But I would have thought that's a Jerry Jones move to bring in someone like Bill Belichick, have him get the record as a Cowboys coach, and make a run at playoffs in the Super Bowl with what's a good team. CeeDee Lamb's an unbelievable receiver. Dak is a whatever quarterback, but there's a million quarterbacks just like him at this point. So they're going to compete next year. I would have thought coaching would make all the difference.
Micah Parsons is one of the most enjoyable defensive ends. My NFL fan career starts with the New York Giants in the late 80s, early 90s, and watching Lawrence Taylor. This Micah Parsons gives me LT vibes big time. Like Watt would also, but Watt can't stay on the field. His brother actually gave me some of those vibes, but he never stayed healthy enough. But I don't know, man. I don't know where you're at if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan. It's like, where do you go from here?
It just seems like at this point, it's what you'd expect. You expect them to fold their tent like that in the playoffs and not show up and not fight back. I don't know. If I was a Cowboys fan, it would just be par for the course, and I wouldn't even be surprised. Got to be numb to it at this point.
I was going to ask you this question too, because and then I kind of corrected myself. Who was the coach of the Ray Lewis Ravens? Was it Harbaugh?
It's been Harbaugh for a long time.
Because I was starting to wonder if he was going to give me like some Andy Reid vibes prior to KC. Because Reid lost a couple Super Bowls. He was always in a lot of games, and it never got over the hump. It seems like that's Baltimore, a good part of the last decade.
They did get that Super Bowl because that was the Harbaugh Bowl, if you remember.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he did get that one. I think he was a different coach when they won it way back. I think the first part of Ray Lewis's career. But yeah, Harbaugh does have one under his belt. But yeah, one of the things that they got away from that got them to where they were was just running the ball, and they didn't have the rushing attempts. It goes back to Mahomes coming out, starting with that long drive, touchdown, I forget if there was a turnover or what, but I think they were up a couple touchdowns, and then Baltimore's whole offensive game plan is out the window. And it's hard for a running team to keep running when you're down multiple scores. It's just, inevitably you change your game plan and feel like you have to pass. And if that's not like their strong thing, then it's hard to dig back out.
Detroit Lions. Thoughts on that?
I freaking love Detroit. I wanted them to make it into the Super Bowl, as I think probably most people did. That's a fan base that has struggled over the years. But I always think of them as having good skill players in the back of my mind. Yeah, I think obviously Barry Sanders and what was his Herman Moore, that receiver, and
Johnson.
Calvin Johnson. Like, I've always felt like they've had like good skill players, but could never put together a good team. And now they seem like they have a good coach. They have, again, great skill players. I have Gibbs in fantasy, so I feel like personally invested in Detroit. So St. Brown's awesome. And I actually like seeing Goff have that success. Where the Rams trade him to Detroit for Stafford, and it would have been kind of cool for him to bring them to the Super Bowl. But maybe next year, who knows? But I think they had a great season by all accounts.
Yeah, that's fun. They were a fun one to watch.
Packers. They were fun in the playoffs, huh? If you're a Packers fan, James, you're probably pretty happy with the youngest team in the NFL making the run that they made in the playoffs and Jordan Love doing what he did in the playoffs.
You wonder, and you and I talked about this earlier, you wonder if guys don't succeed like the Zach Wilsons, I mean, the list goes on and on, man. Yeah. Like, some of these guys just don't make it because they're put in situations. Wow, Jordan Love got to learn, and here he is just dominating. It's fun to watch. It's like guys need to have a second to develop. Some of them do.
Yeah, I'm sure he wanted to play when he got drafted by the Packers, but he waited those few years just like Aaron Rodgers did, and it probably is to his benefit. And here the Packers are. They have a quarterback that could have a good 10-year run, even more if things go really well.
They're really lucky. They're like the Steelers drafting linebackers and wide receivers, like the Packers, man. Think about it. We had a coach for 20 years, which is unheard of. They've had a pipeline of quarterbacks now for what? When did Brett start with them? 91, I think.
Yeah, so you go from Brett to Rodgers, those two quarterbacks over that period of time, and just to have Love now.
So I think they're well coached too, and it's like I'm curious with the Pats where it's going to be. You have a younger guy. Granted, he has a defensive background with Mayo. You know, Mayo's the whole package, in my opinion, as far as if you want a younger guy to step into a head coaching position. I think the Packers have that too. I mean,
LaFleur?
Yeah, I guess, right?
I think he's kind of like a McVay, Shanahan. There's a handful of those guys that are all generally like the same age and kind of came up through the ranks together. So he's probably a little bit more seasoned than someone like Mayo is, but he's like in that younger crop of coaches.
So I think with the Packers, you got good coaching. You've got a guy that knows what he's doing now behind the center. You got some decent little wideouts, some Watson. Hopefully the kid can stay healthy because it seems like when he gets rolling, he gets hurt. But I think you have a lot to be happy about if you're a Packers fan.
Here we are 18 minutes into the pod, and we're not even at the Super Bowl yet, which we'll get to in a sec. But last thing is the Pats. Where's your head at with the Pats going into the offseason?
Dude, it's really a confusing one for me. I've been super judgmental on our line for the last 2 years. I can't let the Mac thing die for me. I know I'm probably one of the last people that are holding on to him. I don't know what
you want. You just want to get a little bit more out of his cards. That's it.
Yeah, probably
a little more value.
So the thing is, Randy, so you're sitting at number 3. You're hearing that the kid from USC doesn't want to play for Chicago. May is good. The other kid from LSU is good. It's like, if you take in one of these guys, do you have the line to protect them to make them good right now? The answer is no. Do you have skill player positions that are – do they have anything satisfying to put out there to actually make a quarterback look good? The answer is no. I don't know, man. I don't want to ramble too much about the Pats because it's like I could go on and on and on. I'm curious what you think, but ultimately – if we end up with Marvin Harrison Jr., Chris Bedard's going to be happy. I can sacrifice quarterback this year for a goddamn good skill player for once.
For a lock it up number one receiver in the draft. That's kind of
Yeah.
where I'm at. I saw some Jaden Daniels highlights that I was like, okay, if that guy's the third guy that comes to us, like that's, he looks good, but it's such a coin flip, man. Who's to say you couldn't get someone in the second round? A kid from South Carolina, I forget, I was reading something about him, like how the Pats liked him and maybe they could get him in the second round. It's like,
Yeah.
is it better to get a lock wide receiver with the third pick than it is to roll the dice on the third quarterback taken in the draft? I mean, what was Mac Jones? Was he the fourth quarterback taken in the draft on the year we got him? Or was Lawrence? Then I know what?
It was Lance, then it was Fields.
Yeah, and then Mac. But like,
that's Mac.
It's a coin flip for any quarterback. So I don't know that it's worth spending that on a quarterback. I don't know if it's possible to get Justin Fields. I know we were talking about that. If that trade was on the table, if someone like Kirk Cousins is on the table, he's a free agent. Like I would happily take Kirk Cousins and Marvin Harrison Jr. So I think I'm kind of leaning towards that. I'm not especially hopeful that they're going to make the right decision. I don't know. I kind of lost faith a little bit in that side of the Pats over the past few years. We'll see. But my hope would be Marvin Harrison Jr. and then get a quarterback in free agency or via trade and then rebuild the team. I am one of the guys that probably would have liked to have Vrabel as the coach personally. I mean, Mayo's great, Patriots guy. Yeah. I mean, I'm not disappointed about it by any means, but Vrabel is a coach of the year winner and he's a longtime Patriot. I guess you have to give it to Mayo at that point. There's probably agreements that, went back beyond anything any of us are aware of. But when Vrabel's out there, it's like, damn, would have liked to see them take a hard look at him.
Yep. I will do this. So interiorly, I think you have some good stuff with players. We drafted some guys, some linemen last year, Sidney Sal. We got Andrews, who's going to back up Andrews. Mm-hmm. We have another guy at right guard. So there's a decent rotation there interior. But your right and your left tackle is an issue up for this football team. Trent Brown, piss off. Like, I am over the Trent Brown thing. So one of the free agents that we do have that ended up playing tackle but cut his teeth at guard from the University of Michigan, Michael Owenu. I think you're going to use money to re-sign him. Dude, you need a left tackle. I don't want to pay for a left tackle. So it's like you need some stuff coming in offensively, but you do need to shore up that position. So I think if you go Harrison, I actually would be okay if you went tackle in the second round or the third round just to shore that up. So I think everything starts and stops for us at the line of scrimmage. We need to fix that, but we need that skill player. But a couple quick questions for you because I don't want to lose anybody here that's not a Pats fan, but we have a ton of free agents. Okay, Owenu, I think you have to try to re-sign, right?
Okay.
Pariah Brown, tight end, see ya. Kendrick Bourne.
I thought he was good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's better than Juju.
But Trent Brown's a no, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm good.
Zeke Elliott.
He was actually better than I thought he was going to be, but I don't know. I could just see him being a mercenary on to the next place.
Ferenc, Geiske, see you later. Hunter Henry.
I guess if you keep him for the right amount of money, but I don't know. He hasn't been that great of a signing, obviously.
I'm going through this list of free agents on our team. It's terrible. Our Duggar. Would you redo Duggar?
Well, what do you think?
So we took this kid last year that played hybrid. He's like a hybrid safety linebacker. He's got a funky last name, and I hate that I'm kind of flaking on his name right now, but they sort of project him to fill his role. I like Duggar, but I think Duggar gets toasted a lot in bad areas. Mm-hmm. And it's like a Duggar on the open market is probably going to be worth a lot more to somebody else than us. Yeah, especially with that kid coming in on his second year. One guy that I do want is Anthony Jennings. He really he had like 3 years of being hurt, and this year he actually filled in pretty nicely. So he's a free agent. So I don't know, man. What do the Pats do?
It's tough. Those names are tough, man. I'd be interested to see who they can bring in as a free agent. But like, it seems like playing in New England's lost its luster a little bit.
So I'd be okay with another losing season, getting a skill player position, fix your line, go 6-11, have a top 10 pick, and then try a quarterback there.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see, man. I'm
I
sure
don't
there'll
know.
be plenty of stuff to listen to and read and digest leading up to next season, and the draft's not that far away, anyways, too. So, so that brings us to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, let's do this.
Let's do it, man. Niners and the Chiefs, and I guess I start with like, gun to your head, who's going to win this game? Who do you think is going to win this game?
Gun to my head. All right, Mahomes, Randy, gun to your head.
Yeah, yeah. I think I feel like at this point he's the best. They're the defending champs. Been there 4 out of 5 years. It's hard to go against them at this point. It really is. Until someone does it, I feel like you got to go with Mahomes.
Hey, dude, the reason why I feel that way is last week's game, the way that the front line, at the line of scrimmage, I was surprised all of those guys for the Niners got their butts handed to them as easily as they did in that first half and early third period. Bosa, the kid that they traded for from the Washington Generals or whatever their name is now.
Chase Young?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's like it left me in this area of like, man, you got to at least stop somebody. Let's make the case for them. Can they win? How do they win?
Yeah, they can't come out the way they did against Detroit last week. They were doing nothing offensively. Purdy was playing like crap. I think he had like less than 100 yards in the first half. Obviously turned it on in the second half. So he's a quarterback that throws for high completion percentage. It's first Super Bowl for him. Get him out there, throwing some passes that are like reasonably completed passes, and then just long drives. Feed McCaffrey. McCaffrey's a freaking beast. But at some point, it's like you're going to have to go toe to toe with the Chiefs. You have to go back and forth. Like they're going to put up points. Like your offense has to be able to match it. I expect that there will be some scoring in this game. I could be wrong.
I've been so bad with my predictions. I'm super cautious of what I say here because it's like you're having Bedard on the podcast and he gets nothing right. So
Dude, it's so hard though. You got to remember that. So I listened to I'll let you finish this thought, but I just want to remind you, like I listen to the podcast where these guys lay out their picks every single week. They've been doing it for freaking 20 years. And one of the guys, I think he was 1 for 11 with his picks on winners at this point in the playoffs. So it's like, it's hard. It's
really hard.
Why is gambling?
It's really hard. So I said Mahomes, gun to my head, but the Niners to me, and I kind of picked on the defensive line because I thought that's one of their strong suits. Hopefully, I mean, they have 2 weeks to fix that. But because Pacheco's an issue. And they have some good linemen now, the Chiefs, but dude, CMC's a beast. Kittle is healthy and Kittle is motivated. So you have that. Their fullback's nice. Their left tackle is probably one of the best ones in the game. Their
got good receivers.
Dude, Debo, Ayuk. I mean,
those guys are good.
Those guys are really good. Who's their third? It's a Wilson kid, I think, right? That kid makes plays. He's skinnier guy. But, dude, they have everything. They have everything. Everything that the Niners have done the last couple of years has hit. It's time to go win one. And I think Purdy's capable.
He doesn't get enough credit for what he's done in his career at this point, being Mr. Irrelevant, last pick of the draft. Like, he's had a good couple of years. And they, if he hadn't hurt his elbow last year, they could have easily made it into the Super Bowl.
And I saw this look too. I think it was Debo or Ayuk came up to him in the Lions game. They were getting their tails kicked, and he had that deer in headlights look that you never saw out of Tom. Every now and again, Tom would have a daze like, what the F is going on right now? I think that was Purdy's Tom in this case.
Yeah.
He had his teammate come up to him, and they had a mic on. And this guy, I think it was Ayuk, just built him up, or maybe it was Debo. And I thought to myself after that, it's like half of your success of being a good player is who's around you. Like, think about our thing for the longest time, our mortgage thing, Randy. Like, it's just we're a good team, so it works. It's not always going to flow, but it works. And I thought to myself, man, this kid has got everything around him to make him successful. And again, it ties into like my thought on sometimes guys aren't in the right situation.
Yeah.
Purdy's in the right situation. He's got the right weapons. The more that I ramble about this, I'm like thinking like 34-27.
Yeah. Yeah.
Niners.
That would be an amazing Super Bowl if that was the case. A high scoring game like that, a 1-score game, engaged, anyone could win. How about this for a question? Who do you want to win?
Okay, selfishly, I do not want the Chiefs to win.
Yeah, that's fair. Selfishly, yes, like you don't want to give another Super Bowl to Mahomes and it gets him that much closer to Brady in that whole conversation. There's definitely part of it that, but I do want the Niners to win because they have a good team, and you would want them to win for Purdy and for Shanahan, even for some reason. Not that I really care that much about him, but like, seems like he's been a good coach. Niners have been knocking on the door for the past few years. It almost feels like their time. If I had to pick who I would want to win, it would be the Niners.
Hey, Tom said something on his podcast, or maybe it was like tongue in cheek with something quick, but he said that the Niners reached out to him. Oh, it was Purdy admitted it. Purdy also said that his coach told him, hey, look, we might try this, and if we do, no offense.
Yeah.
And apparently the only reason why Tom didn't is all of his buddies had thrown him a retirement party.
Yeah, I saw that too, and I didn't know how, not to say it wasn't serious, but like I questioned in my mind, like if he was just kind of messing around, but I heard that whole thing. He felt like he couldn't come out of retirement at that point because he already had the party.
And dude, if you had a retirement party with all your buddies, which are probably all the dopest dudes around, right? How did none of those guys throw any of that on social media? Like it was kind of twofold for me. I was like, damn, he could have been a Niner, and like, where are these videos?
Like Danny Amendola didn't post anything on Instagram, or Edelman didn't post anything on Instagram.
Hey, can I say something real quick? And this is the guy in me is going to come out. Danny Amendola dates Olivia Culpo, right? Like Danny to me is like, wow, this guy's pumping fastballs as far as who he dates. And then you got Jules kind of cruising around, and Jules is doing his thing. Like, is there anything cooler than being an ex-NFL wide receiver?
Especially not for those guys. When you have the dynamic of being like Brady's wide receivers, beyond that, Patriots wide receivers, Super Bowl champs wide receivers, throw Gronk in the mix, get those guys on the private jet to the Kentucky Derby, it's freaking game over out there.
Well, one last thought on it is like, if Gronk wasn't dating his girl, could you imagine a Gronk, Brady, Dola, Jules, like night out on the town, all of those idiots with their cell phones taking videos? Like, why can't we have that, Randy?
Netflix, man. Netflix should make it happen.
Yep.
All right, so it sounds like we both think Chiefs are in good shape, want the Niners to win. What I was hoping to do was talk about some bets.
Yep, let's do it.
And kind of have a little bit of that conversation because it's been fun. And I had Veer on the podcast not that long ago. We're talking about DraftKings and the impact that's had to people watching sports nowadays. And it's just fun to throw little dollar amount bets or big dollar amount bets if you're Chris Bedard. But there's a few bets that I wanted to talk about going into the Super Bowl. That's the fun part about it. People got their squares, people got their bets, prop bets. The first thing I want to talk about is the line. Do you know what the line is? You probably know.
I'm looking at it right now. And by the way, are you creeping my bets? No. So the Niners are giving 2.
Yeah, so I have 2.5 on my sheet, but it started at 1.5, I believe, and then went to 2.5. Maybe it's back to 2. But does that seem crazy? That seems crazy to me. Like, how are the Niners favored, given everything that we said? It seems like I wouldn't be surprised if by the time this podcast comes out, or at least by kickoff, that the freaking Chiefs are favored, because people have to be throwing money on the Chiefs at this point if they're getting points.
And then it spins in my thought of like, you look at that, it's like a trap line. It's, dude, are we overlooking the fact that the Niners are probably going to win this game? Like, Vegas thinks they are.
Yeah. So that means something.
Yeah, it means something. It's like, it's almost like we're afraid to bet against Mahomes, and you should be afraid of it.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. So -2, Niners giving. The betting thing, I didn't hear the Veer pod, but it would be cool to actually hear what Matt had to say about it. But because I'm enjoying the fact that I could put a little bit of action on something that I think happens based on my 35 years of watching sports and watching matchups as intimately as I do. I think that's a variable for me.
It makes it really fun. I was talking about it on the pod with him. Is I think that the betting groups thing that DraftKings does is one of the most ingenious things ever. I get notifications all the time when you guys are all making bets. When you make a bet like at freaking 6 a.m. when I wake up and I see someone's freaking laying in bed probably making a bet. Like I get notifications and I can go look exactly what that bet is, and if I want to piggyback it, I can. Or we're in a text string and it's like, I just made this bet. You guys want in on this? And like 4 people will go and bet the exact same bet, and that's like a bet that I wouldn't have made if it wasn't for these freaking betting groups. And it's just like genius of DK to do that.
So I love that because the great Jason Tremblay's in a text string with me.
Yeah.
There is no more of a degenerate. But mind you guys, like he's not betting big amounts, but man, these guys, Tremblay, Veer, like the chum that they throw in the water, it's like 7 o'clock and I'm looking at my phone. I'm like, Jesus Christ, these guys already have a couple bets in.
Making bets,
So Tremblay's Bazooka Tremblay now. Whenever I refer to Tremblay in our text string, I'm like, hey, Bazooka, what do you got? Because the kid's like just blazing nonstop.
Is he on fire?
Oh, yeah. He goes at things like 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Yeah, he's the freaking man.
And lastly, and I'm sorry, I don't want to hijack this, but you remember Sloth from the Goonies?
Of course.
If you're super salty and you're not going to bet this week because you need to take a break, you're the Sloth.
Yeah.
We coined
I feel like I was there at one point earlier this year. Betting's hard too. It really is. It's humbling because it's fun to do. You set up your account and you maybe win a few bets and you get all this bonus money and you're like, oh, this is not too freaking bad. And then like you'll have a weekend where you really get humbled and you're just like, damn, I really don't know anything about sports.
Dude, it's really ingenious of them too. They give you a couple $100 to start and they max bet you, so they get you in the habit of like shotgunning. And it's like they're just putting you in this pipeline of like, okay, I'm on my phone. I bet this. I bet this. I bet this. And it's brilliant. I had a nice hit the other night on a line where I'm like, holy cow, that's like stealing money. It was Brooke Lopez. He had 8 points at the half. 12.5 was the live over. He ended up with 19. So I slayed it. Right? I hammered it actually. And last night, this is a humbling thing, is like Lakers are killing the Celtics. You're like, the Celtics are going to get their heads out of there. You know what?
When you take Celtics points at halftime?
Dude, I took the money line. Lock it up.
Yeah.
Lock it up. Like I think it was like $250 to pay almost $500.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that's $250 I'm not getting back.
Yeah, that was not a good one. But it is humbling. So
it's
fun, but like sometimes I just like, what am I doing? So on the line, the over-under is 47.5, and you threw out a score prediction, and I am of the thought of, there's going to be some points scored as well. So one of the things that I did is I just messed with some of the lines myself. Like I bet this morning I wanted to get some points, and I changed the line for KC getting 3.5 points, and I dropped the over-under down a little bit and took the over. So I wanted to like get some of those points while I can, because I do feel like that line's going to change whether or not San Fran's the better team or ends up winning. So that is one bet that I made. I took KC with the points and the over.
Jesus. I'm looking at the under right now, 47.5. It's plus 1,600.
No kidding.
So we're all assuming that the over is going to hit 2 high power offenses. But what if these guys come out and actually ball out, and it's a 22-25 game,
and you miss by half a point?
You know what? The gambler in me says, if you have $100, throw it on the under. Why not?
But everyone knows betting on the under sucks. It's not fun.
Oh, it sucks to root for horrible offense.
You're basically betting on a shit game, and I guess maybe it's a good hedge if you want to have a good game, but you're also protected if it's a crap game. But yeah, betting on the under is not the fun way to go. Jesus. Anyways, I used alternate lines anyways again, so I teased it down a little bit. I don't know. I like to think they can get over what I have it at, but right now at least I'm thinking KC and the over at slightly different alternate lines. Okay, so there's that. Does anything else come to mind for you betting wise? Or I have some things I could bring up and see what your thoughts are.
I was just in the app prior to us hopping on this. I'll end up waiting, but if I was to bet right now, because the game's tonight, I like CMC anytime score.
Absolutely.
I mean,
I feel like he's going to have a good game. I don't know why.
Because he's amazing.
Yeah.
Patty Mahomes over 1.5 touchdowns. So this is my 3-pick parlay. No big deal. And then, I'm going to go Mahomes again. 259.5. Like, you're telling me Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl is not going to exceed 259 yards and a half. So $100, pays me 362 is, that's a little hit on my part. I usually like to grab something where the odds are a little bit more, unattainable, so it pays a little bit more. But
well, that's the thing about betting. It's like I feel like I can't do anything that isn't like a freaking 8-leg parlay that pays me $15,000 on a $100 bet.
dude, there's
Like
nothing
you're not
better
even
than,
living anymore if you don't do an 8-leg freaking parlay.
dude. There is
Boring.
nothing better than creeping the freaking the text strings, the DK thing, and seeing like this 8-pick parlay. It's like you're an idiot. You just threw away $20.
Like nothing gets the blood going, man. Like what am I supposed to pick the freaking Chiefs and that's good enough to enjoy the game? No, I got to go big.
Rand, speaking of betting, quick little flex right now.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is in my account?
I say $1,500.
4,100.
Wow.
4,100.
What'd you start with?
Started with 250.
Isn't that nuts?
And the thing is like some of our buddies that are going to listen to this, like you went to school with one of them. We won't say his name because I don't want to make him a degenerate gambler, but he shows me some of his bet slips and I'm like, wow, I'm chump change compared to this kid.
Yeah.
There are some guys that bet big.
So for me, if I was going to bet that big, I feel like I'd want to be a little bit more into it than I am. For me, it's like very casual. Like I'm going to open the app, make a decision. Like I don't have a ton of strategy behind it, but I also bet like very low dollar amounts, just enough to make it interesting. But some of the money that he's throwing around is serious. And I'd want to have like an actual thought out strategy and have things reasoned out. And he does seem to be that way, but I'm just not there mentally.
Yep. My wife pulls out her laptop and she bets. She's got an account.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, Chris, what do you think about this? Chris, what do you think about this? Chris, what do you think about this? It's like awesome. My wife bets.
That is awesome. I can't see Tara betting. I should get Aubrey a DraftKings account. Lie about her birthday. She would want one if she could.
Aubrey seems like she's pretty fun.
Yeah, she loves football. She's fired up for the Super Bowl. So we get this is a little bit of an aside, but she's on a field hockey camp that's typically 3 to 5 on Sunday afternoons up at USM. And it's going to happen on Super Bowl Sunday. But for whatever reason, unless this is wrong, this camp is from 5 to 7 on Super Bowl Sunday.
Who made that decision?
Ridiculous, right? I can't imagine that's ultimately what's going to happen. Like they mustn't have been thinking. But anyway, she finds that out. She like started like, crying. You know what I mean? She was like, I don't want to go. She wants to watch the Super Bowl. Very strange.
If that's the actual case, then I would guess that wow, that sucks. That sucks. Yeah. Keep her home.
The Super Bowl isn't even about the football. It's like a thing. People get together. It's like a unofficial American holiday. So I would expect most people to actually skip because they have something going on, or it just seems silly. But she was disappointed. She does love football. She's looking forward to it.
Man, good for Aubrey though, going to those camps. I remember when I coined her HB5, my little girl Haley Bedard.
Yeah,
I remember taking HB5 up to Gorham, USM.
Yeah,
gym full of girls, field hockey nets, and just running around like an animal.
That's exactly what it is. It's pretty sweet.
And so she grew up on me.
One thing I want to bring up that I think is interesting. I don't know that I would bet it, but basically I'll tell you the MVP odds right now. So right. Mahomes is the favorite to win the MVP, plus 130. Brock Purdy's plus 210. Obviously, quarterbacks are going to be 1 and 2.
Yep.
In this case, it looks like Vegas basically means that, again, another way that they think the Chiefs are going to win. Actually, which is interesting. Chiefs are getting points, but they think Mahomes is the best odds to win the MVP. But, Purdy could be a bet if you thought that the 49ers are going to win the Super Bowl. But beyond that, McCaffrey's plus 480. And to me, I could see, if the Niners win this game, it's because Matt McCaffrey had a really good game and he ends up winning the MVP. So it's almost like betting on McCaffrey to win the MVP is one way to get better odds on the 49ers winning the Super Bowl. So that's something that kind of crossed in my mind. The next best odds is Kelsey at plus 2,000, Deebo Samuel plus 3,800, Pacheco at plus 4,000, and so on down the list.
Dude, you can see actually, so that was cool because I was thinking in my head, Kelsey must be next. But Deebo, dude, that kid goes off every now and again. So it's like...
He does. If he takes a handoff for a running touchdown, catches a touchdown, makes some other big plays, it's not out of the question. I think his odds are probably appropriate, but plus 3,800, he's definitely a long shot. But it's not like it's impossible.
You
But I
know,
do
if you're
really
one of
think it's
those
one of those top three guys. I don't think Kelsey, like Mahomes, would probably
win it.
win it no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, but I guess if you're throwing chum in the water, right? If you're sprinkling like a $10 bet, maybe you go Debo. I was looking at this. Chiefs wins every quarter, 45. So if you're a big Chiefs guy in this game, plus 4,500.
Who was it?
Yeah. So the KC Chiefs win every quarter. You know what I mean? $10, pays you a couple bucks.
Nah, I like it.
Plus 4,500. So it's stuff like that. I love it. I love this betting app.
So one thing that I think I'm going to go for is Mahomes' longest rush is 13.5 yards.
Yeah.
And I feel like he gets something for longer. Just knowing how Mahomes is, like I feel like he's going to take some broken play and get more than 13.5 yards. So I feel like that one's worth a shot for me. How about McCaffrey rushing yards over 90.5? What are your thoughts?
How many times has the McCaffrey over in yards burned you in the rushing area? It's been more than you'd like to admit, because he has like big games for rushing, and then it's 80, 80, 80, but he's got like 75 receiving.
Yeah. I don't know that that's a sure thing by any means either, for the reasons you just said. It gets me thinking it's obviously a good over-under. It's right in that spot where you're not really sure which direction to go. I might take the under on that.
I would lean under.
Mm-hmm. How about Kelsey over 6.5 receptions?
Jesus. The thing is like the way that he plays the last couple of weeks, like you bang everything that Kelsey is, like receptions, yards, anytime touchdown. Like I don't think you could go wrong, because that's Mahomes' binky, and you're going to need him to win that football game.
If you think the Chiefs are going to win, Kelsey probably hits that over.
Probably, yeah. The 6.5 seems like easy money, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, doesn't it?
I think so.
I mean, he gets like 2 to 4 checkdowns a game,
and plus the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel like he's started out some games hot and then kind of disappeared in the second half. And not to say that won't happen again this game, but it is a Super Bowl, man. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he retired this year. I mean, he's definitely on the last legs. He's definitely not as good of a player as he was.
Something sneaky, Ran, for people still listening, grinding with us right now. Well, I'm a big 4-pick parlay with passing yardage over, if it's a good quarterback combination, which it is in this game. And usually that 1.5 touchdown, like Mahomes 1.5, Purdy 1.5 touchdowns, 259 for passing yards, Mahomes, Purdy 245.5. Doesn't that seem like easy money to you?
Overs on all of those things?
Overs. Hammer the overs.
Hey, if you think that it's going to be, I think the yards is actually pretty easy. It's just a touchdown thing. Like, is Purdy end up with 1? But if you think it's a 34-27 game, then they each got a couple touchdowns at that point.
Okay. Yeah. McCaffrey over 34.5 receiving yards.
I'd take the over on that. I think he's going to have a big game.
Dude, I think he's going to have a fucking huge game.
But like you said, might not get over 90, but like receiving and rushing yards combined, I could easily see him over 150. And could he get a couple touchdowns? Absolutely, man. He's a freaking animal.
So if you're the degenerate and you're going next tier in your bet slips, you're like plus on that 8 parlay that you're looking at, Randy. Like, would you add this over? George Kittle, 46.5.
God, I don't know what the receivers do, because it's like, that seems very hittable, obviously. But like, it's like, which of their receivers is going to be their game? Is it going to be a Kittle game? Is it going to be a Samuel game? Is it going to be an Ayuk game? And Kittle could obviously have a good game, but like I could easily see it being like an Ayuk and Samuel game, and Kittle doesn't get as many receptions and yards. So I don't have like a ton of conviction behind that.
It's crazy, because he's like always in like running this like shallow drag, and all of a sudden he'll bust it like 35 yards.
Yeah. So it is like a one big play and that's over kind of thing. Could certainly happen. Anything else catch your eyes?
All right. I'm always like Isaiah Pacheco, because he gets the ball a lot. 67.5 rushing yards. Where are you going with that?
I take the over. He's been running hard.
Dude, he has been running hard.
Yeah, I like him a lot. He's been a nice little surprise this year.
If it was 17.5 for receiving yards for him, what are you thinking?
That's a coin flip. I probably would just stay away from it, truthfully.
Yeah. I do like the over, though, with the rushing yards. That kid's balling. Yeah, every now and again, Randy, I'll put in, like, anytime score. CMC's, like, obviously very attractive. Kelsey, very attractive. I move on from that. I always go passing yards. I always go touchdowns, passing. And then every now and again, I'll involve the running backs with their receiving games.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of my progression in football.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's good you have that. I don't have that established. It's just kind of like, I'm going to get in the app and see what I'm feeling and see where it leads to. But I like that progression. That's what I'm talking about, dude. If I'm going to like bet like actual decent money, like I need to develop a progression. I just don't care that much. I like it, but I'm not like passionate about it.
Dude, some of the reasons for that is like every team abandons the rushing game. They always do. By mid-game, somebody is completely altering their game plan and they're throwing way too much.
Baltimore, dude. Baltimore AFC Championship game.
Yep.
Okay, so I did want to do a little bit of like a quick recap here with like some of the bets that you would make. So 259.5 over for Mahomes. Like obviously you have some 4-pick parlays, but I guess if I was going to say 3 things for you, what are like the 3 things that you would?
Okay, I'll go off the bet slip that I put together. So anytime CMC touchdown, lock it up, lock that up.
Yeah.
Second thing, Patrick Mahomes, he's going to throw the football 1.5 touchdowns over. Lock that up also. No big deal. Just picking winners. That's what I do. Number 3, Patrick Mahomes. I'm not going to go away from him. 259.5 is his over-under for passing yards. Why would you go under? Why would you root for the under? Why would you think that he's not going to throw that over? He's better than that. So go with that. That's the lock.
Yeah.
If you want to have fun, you want to make money, you want to mimic what I do, you want to be in the positive with your bankroll. Bankroll is nice. Pick this 3-pick parlay. Randy's turn.
So I like I said, I went alternate line on the spread. Took Chiefs with 3.5. Teased the over under down to I think it was like 42. Yeah, I took those 2 things. I do like Mahomes' longest run over 13.5 yards. I would lock that up. He's going to break something.
Yep.
He's going to get me fired up. You know, it's going to be right at the time where they need something to happen. It's going to look like the pocket's collapsing, and he's going to scamper out there for a first down, more than 13.5 yards. And then I do like Kelsey more than 6.5 receptions. Big Kelsey game.
Yep.
T-Swift in the crowd. I think it's going to be a big day for him too. So,
T-Swift in the house.
So Kelsey's going to have a big game. Honestly, one of the other things too about the spread, just as we're wrapping up, that was one of the other things I heard too, is just that another reason to expect that the Chiefs point spread is going to go from them getting points to them giving points is because as we get closer to the Super Bowl, all the super casual people that are new to DK or FanDuel or whoever, and the whole Taylor Swift thing, like people are going to just start throwing money at KC for that reason. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. So I want to get the points in now. Rarely would I bet as early as I have, but I've thrown some of those bets in now.
Oh, nice. You have? Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, okay, last thing. Prediction on score. You've already said something, but I want to give you a chance to say, like, this is what I think the score is going to be.
Yep. I protected myself. I said KC would win. My heart and my logic in my betting is going to say 49ers win. Playing both sides of the fence. I'm okay with that. I'm going to go 49ers 34. I'm going to go the Chiefs 31. It's going to be a field goal from 53 yards that wins this puppy. Let's go.
I love it. So the number that I had written down was 30-27 49ers. A field goal game. Niners win by 3. I cover with my 3.5 that the Chiefs are going to get in my alternate line bet. But yeah, dude, I'm taking the Niners.
Well, let's be right together.
Yeah. You know.
So $5 bet. Well, we're picking the same team. So, actually the spread is still the same. So I guess, do we want to go on just total points? Who's closer?
I like it. So I'm 30-27, you're 34-31, so I guess I got the lower of the scores.
So this also has a little twist to it. You have to Venmo public apology for the loss. You have to do full dictation to the point where you try to post it. You're like, damn it, I put too many characters. I have to pull this back. So this is a $5 bet, total points, Venmo, apology, full dictation.
So I basically have to apologize for everything that I've ever wanted to you my whole life.
Well, a lot of things would be like, so if I lost, I'd be like, hey, Randy, I'm sorry that I thought I would beat you. I'm sorry that I appeared on the Randy.forcier podcast and thought I would beat you in this bet. Like, it's going to be layered on something like
so
that.
I like that you already have that planned out. So it sounds like you're prepared for the L.
Hey, I lose a lot in cribbage to Tagway. I always have to write
I've
these.
seen some of your posts.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Well, I think that's it, man. I'm fired up for the game. Always fun regardless who's playing. You know.
Yep.
Should be good either way. I guess if Mahomes wins, I'm sure he had an amazing game. And if the Niners win, that's what I want to have happen anyway. So
I'm going to enjoy your Venmo apology.
awesome, pal. Well, I can't wait to put this stuff out there and
Okay.
see if we can get some conversation going around our bets and what we think is going to happen. So this is our second annual Super Bowl pod, man.
Yeah, it's
So
crazy.
we're getting some of these things under our belt multiple times, which is kind of fun to revisit. So we'll keep it going.
A dream scenario would be is like 10 years from now, ESPN's paying us to do this.
Yeah, we're the hour before Pat McAfee show.
Yep, no big deal.
All right, buddy.
All right, man.
Talk soon.